Welcome back, Splunk enthusiasts. This video is brought to you by Lame Creations, log analysis made easy, where we help you master the tools and techniques to become a Splunk pro. Are your logs trying to tell you something? Today we're diving into Splunk and uncovering the secrets of brute force detection. Whether it's failed logins, suspicious IPs, or abnormal activity patterns, I'll show you how to write Splunk queries that reveal the telltale signs of a brute force attack. Stay tuned as we transform raw data into actionable insights. Let's start hunting. In today's session, we're diving into the world of SPL, or Splunk Processing Language, to help you sharpen your skills and become a more powerful data investigator in Splunk. We'll be working with the BOTS version 3 dataset, Boss of the SOC, a realistic, hands-on dataset full of cybersecurity challenges that's perfect for exploring real-world scenarios and honing your search skills. We're going to go through the BOTS v3 dataset. Unfortunately, the BOTS v3 dataset does not have much actual brute force attacking in the traditional sense. So we're going to have to use a little creativity. Biggest log that's going to have easy to read, understandable authentication will be your Windows event logs. So we're going to look in there. 4624 is your event code for successful logins. Failed logins is 4625, the event code. If I do a count of them, there are only 3 failed logins for the entire data set. There's lots of successful logins, but only 3 failed logins. So right off, we're going to have to reverse this to make it work. We're going to use 4624, the successful logins, to simulate failed logins. Otherwise, I don't really have a lot to do. The concept of brute force attacks is difficult to substantiate with 3 total failed logins. But I wanted to use a data set that you can all use on your own, so we want to use the BOTS v3. And so we're just going to use a little creativity, recognizing that I'm calling these failed attempts when in reality they're successful attempts. But the principle is the same. So I'm hoping you can follow that. So the very first query we're going to run is an index equals bots v3 source in win event log security. And I'm going to pull back event code 4624. Again, 4624 is successful, but to have the numbers to be able to substantiate this, I need to go with successful logins. So I'm going to count stats count as failed attempts. I'm writing it there, so I look at it as failed attempts. And then I'm doing the computer name. The computer name is the log of the machine that was attempted to log into. So we're doing a stats count of failed attempts by computer name, and then I'm setting up an arbitrary threshold. I said if it's larger than 10, I want to know about it. I can sort by failed attempts. You know what? You may not have this the very first time. Maybe you want to, knowing your environment, if I look at these results, maybe I just want to say greater than 60. Because based off the data here, that would eliminate most of these. These look like they could probably be normal, and then this definitely stands out. So you make your threshold here, you run that, you make your threshold based off of your environment. There is no perfect number to say what is a brute force. It's just going to be a lot. I can run this query, I get back, bstol is the device that appears to be potentially being brute force attacked. That's method number 1. This query identifies computer names that make unusually high number of authentication attempts, both successful and failed within a specific time frame. I'm not really using time in this concept, but you could use time. I'm going to use event code now 4625 and 4624 because I just want to know all authentication events. And so I'm going to stats count by the computer name, and I'm going to say where the count is greater than 170. If I take this where out, we get a whole lot more fields back. Again, you're going to set your thresholds based off what your traffic looks like in your environment. 173, all right, we'll go with 170. Literally, if I went above 60, it would take care of them all. The next one we want to look at is this query detects computers attempting to log in as different users, which is another common brute force attack technique. So we introduce another field. This is the account name from the Windows Event Log Security. So we have distinct users and computer names. And we're going to grab the 4625s and the 4624, sure, why not? And we're going to give a stats distinct count. Distinct count says every unique account name I see, that's why I called it distinct users, as attempts by computer name. So this is going to track positive authentication and negative authentication, where distinct users is greater than 8. I chose 8 because I look at this environment, I say, I could have maybe included it, maybe I don't. And once again, we see that 9 users attempted to log into Beastle. Run this, we reduce down all that noise, but it's still that one machine right there. So that's method number 3. Method number 4. We're going to now just look at a user account and how many times it fails. So we're using again account name instead of computer name, and this time we're going to do stats count as failed attempts by account name. And I'm just going to look at values greater than 10. Probably maybe want to go a little higher than that based off what I'm seeing here. So we run this, we get back our failed attempts, and there are 2 accounts that are potential brute force candidates. Number 5. This is going to be a little bit of math. We're going to call this the failed login ratio analysis. This query calculates the ratio of failed to total login attempts by computer name, flagging computer names with unusually high failure rates. So we need to have the failures and the successes, and we're going to do a stats count. We'll do this twice. We're going to get a count where we're going to eval, the event code is 4624 successes. So basically it's going to say, every time I see the event code 4624, count that and call it successes. And then I'm going to count the event code of 4625 as failures. We're going to do that all by computer name. And then we're going to make an eval field. We're going to get the total attempts, which is the failures, which was created by this count eval statement, and the successes, which was made by this count eval statement. And we're going to add them together. And then the failure rate will be rounded, the failures divided by the total attempts, which now is a decimal. So we times it by 100 to get us a percentage. And then we round 2. So we're saying I want 2 decimal places. Maybe I only want 1, and I can put 1 there. We're going to leave it at 2. And then I say where failure rate is greater than 60. Probably want a little higher than that failure rate, but maybe you don't. I wanted just one value coming back, so I picked 60. But if I take this off, we can see this. The math will make a lot more sense when you can see it. Here's all the values. So this machine here had 11 successes, 0 failures, for a failure rate of 0. Total attempts of 11. And so the math is all being done there. And if we track this, again, remember, we only had 3 total failures, 2 on this SEPM and 1 on this M. Krause machine. And so very small percentage. This one's a good sized percentage, but to make it last, I needed to put greater than 60. And that eliminated everything else. We're going to now do an unusual login time analysis. This is where we're going to look at logins during weird hours, and then we can also put thresholds on it. I didn't put thresholds on here, but it's not hard to do. We'll put it on after. I'm going to grab the 4624 and the 4625 events, and this is where all the magic occurs. I use this strift time, I pass in the time field, and I use this %H, and that gives me the hour field from the epoch time. And so I get a bunch of login hours. We can see these 05, that's 5 o'clock, 4 o'clock, whatever. Then we do stats count by computer name and the login hour. And what I want to do then is where login hour is less than 6, so earlier than 6 o'clock, and after 10 p.m. So anytime between 10 p.m. and 6 a.m., not quite, 10:01 and 6 it's got to be 559, and we will get back their values. And so we can see all these are just 5s, 4s, 3s, etc. And we could then also put this in parentheses and count is greater than 10. Now it's got to be during an abnormal hour and multiple events. Another method for doing brute force attacks. Every one of these I use in all time. You might want to bucketize them, bin them. So I left this space open. I'm just going to do bin time span equals 1 hour. What I'm going to do is I want to see these chunks not over all time in an hour period, because brute force is typically lots of authentications in a short amount of time. My data set's small enough, I want to get the point across, so I didn't break it down like that. But in reality, you're going to want these in nice little bins. So I'm going to take this by computer name, and then I'm going to put time. I can already tell you I'm going to need to change my number. When I did this, I only had one of them come back with 173 events. When I break them down by time, I'm definitely going to have a lot smaller buckets. Yeah, so if we'd done that, it wouldn't have qualified. Biggest hour we had is in the 7 o'clock hour. There were 89 attempts. You can read this. In the 3 o'clock hour, there were 31 to that machine. And so you might want to readjust these and say, you know, actually the greater than 60 still would have worked, but it's not nearly as big as it once was. Maybe we want to grab the 30s as well, that 31. So I'll say failed attempts greater than 30, and now we have two different values. You can do that on every one of these queries pretty much. You just use this bin time span that just breaks up your time into buckets of 1 hour, and then you just add that to your stats command, _time, and now you have another method of making that work. Thanks for tuning in to Lame Creations, log analysis made easy. If you found today's video helpful, don't forget to like and subscribe so you never miss out on the latest tips, tools, and tutorials to boost your log analysis skills. Want to take it a step further? Become a member to support the channel and gain exclusive early access to videos and exclusive focused training. Join us on Discord where we dive even deeper, share insights, and tackle questions together. Until next time, from Lame Creations, where we help you go from being a lame analyst to a Splunk ninja.